Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is once again Friday night on the bus, and you know what that means. I know what that means. The boys on the screen know that means it's time for that Friday feeling this week. Everyone's been talking about Oasis getting back together, but look at this threesome on the screen right now. This is the reunion people have been wanting. This is giving the people what they want. On the bus, Phil, Russell, and Liam, Friday nights, 9 o'clock. Tradition, as of course, as Jose Mourinho would say, football heritage, bus
It is, mate.
heritage.
It is bus
Yes,
heritage, definitely.
indeed. So we are back because tonight is a very, very special night. It is transfer deadline night. And of course, other than that, in case you've been living under a rock for the last week, there's a rather big game this weekend. I think we'll dedicate some time to talk about that. So, first things first, Russell, we're back on a Friday night. How the devil are you, my friend?
Aye, mate. Aye, mate. A wee blast for the past. This was the old. We were doing the Double Doon show originally on a Friday, wasn't it? That's how we all met. So Friday nights, that's when we did our first show. So, aye, a wee reunion in there, mate. I like it. But aye, other than that, all good. Positive that Celtic's getting a bit of business done. Positive with the Champions League draw. Don't think a derby could come at a better time either. So, all in all, this is how it feels. If this is how it feels to be Celtic, I'm okay with that.
Oh, definitely. I'm absolutely buzzing as well. It's just a great time right now. So hopefully that continues over the weekend and another resounding performance. But Liam, wise man of the bus, Celtic's favourite, Canada's favourite Tim, maybe Celtic's favourite Tim as well. Greg Taylor's favourite Tim too. But yes, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Good. Long hair, don't care. Love all the distractions going on right now. Just everything from Oasis to signing. I mean, you'd almost forget there was a derby game this weekend with Rangers. I keep usually I'm so pumped before the match, but just so many distractions. Phil, where do you want to start?
Oh, loads to go through. We even get breaking news in the last 10 minutes where we came on about a signing that's now official. To be fair, it's one of the worst kept secrets today, but yeah, we'll be talking about that and many, many more things. But before we do all that, of course, folks, you know what to do. You know what to do on the Boise Bus. You do all that good stuff. Helps us out massively on the channel. You can hit that like button and help us out in algorithm, CSC, get the bus in more people's recommended boxes. Of course, if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. If you use TikTok, you can follow us on that as well. If that's your thing, if that's your bag. I'm not too into TikTok, but hey, a lot of people are, so you can find us on that too as well as other social media platforms like Twitter or X, whatever it wants to be today. So you can share the links of the Voice of Us far and wide on those. And of course, what else can you do? You can get involved in our comment section tonight, like many of you already are doing. A lot of the regulars. We've got Ali, we've got McLaughlin P, we've got Shell, Gary Brown, we've got Pam. Of course, Pam is in. You better pay your fare. You better hit that like button, or she will kick you off the bus. So you better get it done. So yeah, we've got a lot of the regulars in. Chris Roundtree, we've got who else? Jim C, Graham Tyrrell, Charles Smith. Yes, a lot of familiar faces who would like to join. And of course, if you're joining us in general, like 71 people have done. I appreciate that tonight. It's going to be a very, very busy night for Celtic Pod. So if you've chosen to jump on the bus, I appreciate you massively. So thanks for choosing us. And head over to piesports.com. They would appreciate if you'd head over there and use that code BUS1888. Get yourself 12.5% off your order. And Russell, you were going to say something there.
Aye, I mean, like last night when we did the old TNF, and I mean, again, it was right after the Champions League draw. So a big thanks to everyone who joined us for that. We had over 300 live. And I'm literally, I think every single Celtic podcast was live at the same time. So we certainly held our own there. So I'm delighted with that. A big thanks to everyone who joined in then. And of course, who's got that Friday feeling tonight as well.
Indeed. So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us. So yes, tonight is transfer deadline night. And of course, if you're a long-time viewer of the bus, you remember last year, myself and David, did you really think I was kidding? I was talking about a yellow tie. I've got a yellow shirt on tonight, and I've also got the yellow tie with me as well. The aesthetics on the right, though. The aesthetics on the right on the show. So what I've got to do now, I've got to get it like last year. We've got the Sky Sports News background.
Oh, I like it.
The banner, I think it's the wrong colour. I think we need to change it, obviously. So hold on, we'll just adjust that. I think that's a bit more fitting. And the ticket at the bottom, I think the ticket at the bottom needs a wee update as well. How about Celtic's incomings and outcomings this window?
Oh, that's class, mate.
Brilliant,
That's
mate.
class.
So yeah, I'll stick this on at some point. But yeah, I'm wearing a yellow shirt at least anyway. At least I've went that
Yeah,
far
mate,
with the
you've
yellow
done well,
shirt
mate.
tonight.
You've
Yeah,
done well.
fair
You've done
dues.
well.
But the tie from last year is still here, so there it is. But yeah, transfer deadline night. We're now in the spirit. We're now properly ready to go, folks. So
Oh, brilliant work, mate. Brilliant. I'm keeping an eye on that ticker in case anyone's trying to pinch any of your team before the window shuts as well. Do you know what I mean?
oh yeah, on a Bosman drilling or whatever. Yeah. But of course, before we came on there, about 20 minutes before we had breaking news. Got so much yellow on the show tonight. Yes, breaking news. Austin Trusty is now officially a Celtic player. Celtic did that thing again where they just didn't announce it for ages, even though Chris Wilder, the Sheffield United manager, did his press conference for his game at the weekend about lunchtime today and basically told everybody, yeah, Austin Trusty's away to Celtic. So we kind of knew that was happening. But Liam, I'll come to you first because he's a defender. He's a left-sided defender, even though we expect he's going to play centre-back alongside Carter Vickers. But we have been told that he is a utility player and can fit in at left-back if needed. But either way, left-sided defence, Liam, we know how you feel about the left-sided defence. You must be encouraged by the fact that we've went out and we've signed not just him this week, but also Alex Valle, I believe we're pronouncing it, is how it goes, or just Alex, we'll call him. But yeah, we've got a left back in and a left-sided centre back. Is the Scales and Taylor experiment? I say experiment, but is this finally coming to an end, or is it just going to be it's their jerseys to lose, Liam?
Well, I heard Brendan earlier talking about what a great player Greg Taylor was, and I'm hoping that's just Brendan doing management. You know, thanks, you've done well. We've got us to where we need. We'll take it for here. Yeah, I think this guy can work as a backup as well for the Barcelona boy. I think we need to see something a bit more dynamic going forward. I think it's there. It's Greg Taylor. I don't know how he's managed to spin the amount of fans he'd had. There was some amount of Greg Taylor glorification going on Twitter this week as well. You know, without him having a particularly standout game. You know, so yeah, I don't get what people see in him. I think any sort of tactical manoeuvre to improve that part of the thing is the pitch of the team is a move forward. So I'm looking forward to see what this guy can bring, and if he can't do it, I'd like to see what the backup brings as well. If he can play in that side of the park, you know, just so at least we're not losing daft goals for corners and getting ragdolled about and and stuff like that, and actually having somebody that can whip in a cross or beat a man up. You get me started, mate.
Right away, just right in there with the old left back chat right off the bat. It's Friday night tradition after all.
It is an area they've addressed though, with all, I mean, it is clearly. I mean, Trusty can play left back. Obviously, Baye, is that how you pronounce it? Is that right this time?
I think I believe it's Valle or something like that. Or was
Alex, I was getting told last night it was Bowie. Alex.
Well, when Celtic announced him, the graphic, they put Alex, welcome to Celtic. So if they're going with just Alex, we'll go with
Alex.
Just
Alex will do me.
Alex, yeah.
Big Alex. Sound. Alex is obviously an out-and-out left back. You've got Trusty coming in who can play. Predominantly, he's there to try and take Scales' jersey. And then obviously he offers cover at left back. And I just wonder if what Graham Tyrrell was saying in the comments there is an element of truth in it, where there is not. I think it was an area we could have looked at. My views aren't quite as strong as Liam's on it, but I certainly think it's an area we can improve on, right? But I think there's loads of areas we could improve on if we're frank and honest. His more so than ever, because the three guys that have came in to compete for his jersey have been nowhere near it. There's never even been a time where Greg Taylor, I've felt, has been under intense pressure for that jersey. I mean, Laxalt lasted about 5 games, and then it was that's not going to work either. I think he was sort of the main threat to it. But I wonder if there is, a bit of truth in the fact that with that 1-year deal, Celtic don't often let players get to 1 year left. In fact, we've seen the plethora of players signing new deals, this time last year. And whether we agree that he's a first-team regular or not, Greg Taylor fundamentally is the definition of a Celtic first-team regular. He plays week in, week out. So to not have that tied up maybe does take you down a road where it's going to be, thanks, but, crack on elsewhere. And maybe, just maybe, Greg Taylor's had enough of Big Liam. And but I think there's a we forget it with the Scottish boys. The same principle applies and what applies with all our other signings, all right, or all our other players. It is still the same fixtures they take part in. You just don't associate it as much with the Scottish lads that they might want a fresh challenge. But I 6 years it'll be something like that by the time his contract ends. I think that's a fair innings. I think it's a fair innings, and it might just be this season's a transitional one for Taylor to be sort of probably still. I think I know you might not like this, Liam, but I still think he'll be his go-to for the bigger games, or more than likely to start with, and we might see it transition that Alec takes his jersey in time, and that's a sort of smooth handover. But it makes more business sense to actually keep Taylor around the place rather than selling him for some sort of nominal fee like $2.5 million this summer. Do you know what I mean? I just wonder. Well, having said that, the window shut last year, and I think 5 players signed a new deal, so you never know.
Aye, it's just refreshing to just know that we now have an option there, because the thing I was panicking the most about was, well, Greg Taylor, as unspectacular as he can be at times, if he gets injured, he's our only option there. So the fact we've now actually got options, we've went from having one to now having a few viable options there. So that's really like reassuring to know. But I said on like Tuesday night, speaking to David and Regan, talk about the Greg Taylor situation. And if you look at what Matt Riley said in his interview going to Ryan, he used the words, it was time for a new challenge. And again, Greg Taylor, he's won how many trophies now in the time he's been at Celtic? Again, and the boy did not grow up a Celtic fan. It's well publicised that he grew up a Rangers fan. He really doesn't have even though, he's been a consummate professional and he's put in a hell of a graft for us, because then he's a footballer and that's what he gets paid to do. But he did grow up a Rangers fan. So he's no real emotional attachment to the club in that sense. So yeah, he's won everything. He's proved a lot of people wrong. He may just be thinking that I've done everything I need to do. So maybe it will just, this is the end of an era. As we talked about on Tuesday night, the Mikey Johnston end of an era. Perhaps we're heading into that, the end of the Greg Taylor era. And of course, Liam will be very happy about that one. But overall, this week has been a bit of a wild one. We kind of knew it had to be. Did we expect it to be? I'll be honest, I think like many fans, we didn't necessarily expect it to be. We were kind of still in that, because we've been burnt a few times, Liam, when it comes to this point of the transfer window, where we get our expectations up and very, very quickly the balloon just gets popped just like that by the Celtic board. But this week they had to. I think there was no question about it. They've been well publicised, the amount of money that's sitting in the bank. We've obviously lost Matt Riley recently. There's no way they could have allowed this week to pass. And we're still waiting on it getting announced, but it seems imminent that Arne Engels will be a Celtic player before the wind's up. In fact, he probably is already signed. Celtic are just dragging out again, as per. But yeah, it's just a statement of intent. It's quite crazy that in 2024 we're now talking about that. So, what is it, 11 million it works out at, or something like that? So it's going to be a club record for us, but we've been over that plenty of times in terms of, we should have broke these records a long time ago. We should have evolved into the modern age of transfers, in this current day and age. It's not much.
Quickly on that, I just wanted to say, I found it fascinating when you read online and stuff, and those who, are the happy clappers, I would describe them as a lot of them. It's now getting waved about as some sort of banner of success that we've broke our transfer record twice. That's because do you know what? It tells me so much. You're so unused to Celtic breaking transfer records, because it was between Sutton and Edward, I believe it was something like 19 years for a transfer record. That's fucking unheard of at any football club. That just doesn't happen. Like, it doesn't happen. And we all know what happened to Rangers and all that carry on, so maybe they're another example. But in terms of Celtic, a club that's grown in that time massively, to never have done it. That's why I think they use that, they wave that sort of tagline about, oh, we broke our transfer record. I'm like, the fact you're so giddy about it is the root of the problem. It tells me you're not associated with Celtic breaking transfer records, which any forward-thinking club, any club that's had the benefit of Champions League riches, as many years out of the last 20 that Celtic have had, and any club with the player revenues of sales that Celtic have had over the last couple of decades should way more often be breaking their transfer record. Engels, to me, is in line with what I would expect Celtic to be doing for a first choice midfielder. £11 million seems to me a fair wage for someone who's coming in and giving you 40, 50, 60 starts a season. It's 2024. It's not 2000 anymore. You need to get wise to it. Albeit, I do remain pleasantly surprised that they have. That's not necessarily over crediting them, by the way, just because your hopes and expectations are so dampened by the last few windows, that you didn't maybe see them spending 11 million, but glad they did.
Oh yeah, for sure. It definitely is that's that statement of intent, and they had to go and do something of that level. You let Matt Riley go, then yeah, you can't just be. And I know there's a lot of talk about somebody like Luke McCown joining tonight, but had it been just to Luke McCown, then yeah, I think the Sharks would have been out again. But Liam, I've got a quote for you on Ernie Engels, right?
Right.
Okay, I want you to tell me. You might have seen this doing the rounds. I'm going to read this quote out word for word. Arnie is one of the most exciting young players I have ever seen. He will be world class one day, and I hope I never have to play against him. Do you know which manager said that?
The Belgian Michael Beale.
Philip Clement indeed did say that when he was the Club Bruges manager. He said those exact words about Ernie Engels because he was a youngster at the club. Well, Philip Clement. Guess what? Yeah. Your worst fear is coming. Whether he plays it weekend, I don't know if that will necessarily happen, but he's on the way to Celtic. And
what would be
a
your
ringing
take on if they
endorsement.
did do that? What would be your take if they did start him at the weekend?
I think you should, because you know what? Where have we signed a guy that's been ready-made to enter into the team? No in ages, right? I know Kyogo came, but he had a pre-season with us. Maybe the two Japanese boys, the Tati and Maeda, but I love the fact that we've just signed somebody that can actually come in straight into the team and start playing with us. I think that's when you should bed him in. If he's a good player, that's when you'll find it, and that's when you find it if you got your money. Why wait? You know, who are we going to at home? You know, Iwata's away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's players have made their debut in this fixture before and have came through it. Alistair Johnson made his debut in this fixture at Ibrox. You know, and we talked about the intense absence there.
That's right.
He came through that. And even though, yes, he didn't play many great games for us, but Juninho had a very good debut against them. Russell, you'll remember that game, 2004. It was one of the only good games that Juninho had for us. But yeah, players have came in and have came
that
through
debut was amazing.
Yeah,
he was unbelievable that day. He was brilliant.
Aye, so I wouldn't be two-faced, but I agree with you, Liam, talking about a player that can come in, because the profile of a player of that age, usually we're spending about 2 million, 3 million tops on them, so you kind of get an idea in your head. That's one for the future. That's a project player that we're going to look to develop. But this is obviously different because the price tag suggests it's very different. So you feel like this boy's got ability, and there's those words, due diligence, Russell. I feel like the club might actually have done some due diligence. I don't want to give them too much credit because there's still a lot of elements about this window that definitely needs to be looked at. But I feel like with this one, they've put a bit of legwork and a bit of research, because his name did initially come up quite a few weeks back. This isn't one that's just sprung out of nowhere this week. It looks like they've been looking at him for a wee while, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see him. Okay, I admit I've never ever watched the boy play. I haven't even watched his YouTube highlights because I know there's no point to doing that, but I am genuinely excited, and it's just the profile of it, the price tag, everything about it's made me think, they're onto something here with this one.
No, definitely. I think as well, do you know what I mean? It's difficult to pinpoint whether Celtic deserve kudos on this or not when there's not a head of recruitment in place.
Right.
Like, who the fuck identified him? I don't know. I'm guessing it's still a recruitment team of sorts, but I wonder if it's something that's been recommended to Brendan, and this is Brendan went all out for this one, and then they've done their, as you rightfully say, their due diligence to see if this is feasible, if this is doable, if a player from a top 5 league could ever join an SPFL side, if it doesn't rain too much for Arnie Engels, and all this pish that you get conditioned to believe when Celtic don't do anything in windows has just been absolutely put to bed, first and foremost. So I wonder if it's been more of a Brendan operation. I still think, regardless of these encouraging signs at the end of the window, I don't want to be negative because I'm buzzing about it's better late than never and all that crap. I don't want to be saying things like that. I want us to be organised. See, at the end of the day, with people like it or not, it'll be 3 core signings for the first team we're signing in the last week of a 12-week, 13-week window.
Yeah.
3 out of 4. You've got Kasper Schmeichel's the only one that was in before pre-season. So when you think about it, even the 2 guys that were on loan, we didn't get them done until after pre-season. So let's be real, just balance for balance, you know. And it's we've got to look at that side of it. I definitely think when Rodgers said about a week or so ago, a week ago today, that there's going to be a major review of the recruitment process. I found it really interesting, Liam, because he was actually saying, if you remember, when he joined or rejoined, I should say, the recruitment's changed. That's the first thing they asked. What's the big changes you've noticed? or recruitment being one. They've really got that sorted since the last time I was here. So it's funny that within 18 months, he's wanting a full-scale review done of that department. Whether we get Engels, Trusty, another one on loan, makes no odds. He's wanting a full review of that. And it's funny how that charm offensive that Brendan Light was on, now it's gone. We're beginning to see the full fruits of what Celtic can become under Brendan Rodgers again. And I'm getting far more now Era 1 vibes off the manager than I was last season, to be honest.
I think you wonder if he's had a phone call with Desmond. And so he's got a much more long-term vision of where this is going to land up. With Celtic, right, might not land up too far from home. Do we see somebody like a Martin O'Neill coming in as a head of football? Because, we'll know 2 or 3 games or 2 or 3 months from now whether we did okay in this transfer window with the players and all that. But what we do know right now is the people that are pulling the strings behind the club. The people are, as you said, scouting and acquiring players. We know they're not up to the level required for the job. They've made that apparent because you cannot see any form of plan. The fact that they're celebrating a record signing at 13 million, and high-fiving each other, that's to carry on a bunch of accountants in suits playing Champions Manager. That's no somebody that should be in a professional football team. But they think that just because they wear all the same uniform, the same suits, same ties, that's the other Celtic team. That's the most important Celtic team. And so they're high-fiving for that. But I'd like to see them high-fiving it again later today for breaking that one. But you'd absolutely know there's no chance that this is going to be an anomaly. We're going to get nowhere near 13-9. I can't see us playing that money for players. Just going by the passing patterns of what you see by this board and how they react to criticism, everything. So I'm hoping Brendan does have that trump card, that he's talked to Dermot Desmond, and I hate that we have to keep doing this prove me wrong thing. That again, this window shows you that, okay, we told you so. Everybody was pointing it out. Every podcast, every blog, everyone Twitter pointing out that this board doesn't seem to have a plan, and that's terrible. We're a massive organisation. How can you not have a plan? So, anyway, I think we're scrambling at the last minute. We're doing all the wrong things, and I'd be happy if we get a few over the line, but I'm not optimistic.
It's just against the timing of it. It shouldn't really come down to the last week. Big clubs don't, perform that way. Yeah, down in England, you've still got the usual. There's a few scrambling around, but most of the big teams that have spent their money have done the vast amount of it already up to now. Liverpool, the only one I can think of, the real big teams down there that bided their time, and even at that, all they really signed was Federico Chiesa, and they got a real bargain in that one, to be fair, the current market. But yeah, the other big teams, Chelsea, they spend recklessly. Man City, did they need many things? So again, you're looking at the teams down there, the way they perform and how they go about their business. So the fact it's went down to the last week is one of the glaring issues. Was it really Peter Lawwell getting barked at last week outside St Mirren's ground that's prompted this? Who knows? But when you're talking, Russell, about Brendan Light, did you happen to see the clips of his interviews today with Sky Sports? Now he does like the press conference, and then he'll always talk to the reporters up at Lennoxtown. He just had this smirk on his face the whole time, like he's cooking something up here. Like me and my dad watched it, and my dad even picked up and went like that. That sort of coy smile he's got, like when he's getting asked these questions. It's like he's a man that's in control. He's a man that knows what's going on, which it feels to me like it's took him a while to get his way, but he's kind of starting to get it now. He feels a lot, because there's obviously a few press conferences he did last year where, again, you're a bit worried, and a lot of people rightfully were saying, I wouldn't be surprised if he walks, because the body language can say a lot. But those wee clips he was doing today, it was just like a man that he keeps talking about things like, I think I know we'll be in a stronger position tonight, and he's picking up something. So it was encouraging to see. And on top of this, you're saying Brendan Light's definitely left the building. You are getting those Era 1 vibes of him now, watching that, and it's just it can't come at a better time, because obviously what's coming up this weekend as well, because this is him in his element. And it was just really refreshing to see today, mate.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think he's very much in his groove now, and I think he was a bit tentative last year to do so. He didn't want to just wade in, be the complete maverick. In fact, if I'm being honest, if you look at the I'll see you back here in May. I mean, that was a mixed response, to say the least, that he got for that comment, and that maybe just clipped his wings a wee bit in terms of how he was going to approach his demeanour and his personality on camera for the campaign. But this year, when you've got 2 trophies behind you as your sort of your ammunition, if you like, you've got the fans back on side through that. You definitely have more clout and more ability to be a wee bit more, I think, provocative at times towards the board in the the last few weeks, but doing it in a delivery that's very succinct and nothing like the almost snidey sort of terminology like a million wingers, like Terminado and things. That was almost, we get it. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's exactly how I would do it as well. That's me to a complete fucking T. But I think this time around he's been a bit cuter, and he seems to me to be still getting that same message across. But the beauty is, I mean, whilst it looks like he's getting his way on paper, and I think P. McLaughlin had came in earlier, and we'll make a net profit this summer. We've not spent anything, so it's and again, he's probably part of the conditioning process by this board as well, where just being able to spend a higher percentage of your profit that you make, your net profit in the window, is a luxury that they're not accustomed to, let alone investing the rakes of cash that are sitting there. I find all these things really poignant, to be honest with you, that's all it takes in a way to make Brendan so smug. It tells you how far away they must have been from anything like this last year, anything like this, maybe even the beginning of this summer window as well. And now he's bristling because he's got his way. But when you look at what he's actually got his way with, it's to be fucking expected that we replace a £30 million player with an 11 million one. That makes sense to me. It makes sense to upgrade on a 500 grand left centre back for Shamrock Rovers, with a guy who started over 30 games in the English Premier League last year. That makes sense to me. It's not crazy investment what's happened, but like I say, I think so many, including probably Brendan as well, has been conditioned of what Celtic can't do, not what they can do. And that leads us to all being buzzing at our tits that we've actually spent, 60, 70% of our transfer net profit rather than 30, 40%. But in terms of actual real investment, that bank balance keeps growing.
It does indeed. But on the topic there, Russell, about the getting his way and whatnot, one thing, Liam, I'll come to you on this, is not just the players coming in. There's obviously a sign he's getting his way. One thing that he said consistently since he came back is, I've got too big a squad. And us fans looking at it could see that. It's not on Chelsea's levels, mind you. I mean, Chelsea's is busting at the seams. That's an absolute piss take. But the Celtic squad definitely had a lot of dross. Even going back to when Andrew was in charge, there was still plenty of us saying, could really get rid of this guy. Could do, this guy's just a passenger on the team. But this window has been insane for the numbers going out. So they've actually managed to shift a lot of deadwood. Yes, some of them have had to go out on loan. But we saw for this just the last 24 hours. In fact, it was earlier today. Mikey Johnston is finally away. He's went to West Brom. Shell's asking here, Awata away to Birmingham. That looks like that's happened tonight. There was talk that the Vrotsky might also be away. But it was as vital, Liam, to get a lot of this deadwood out of the club. James McCarthy's contract got terminated as well, which was just one of the strange. That'll go down as one of the strangest deals, I think, in Celtic history, that one. That genuinely will. When you now look back on it. And the thing is, I think McCarthy showed over his career, he's a solid player, solid Premier League level player. So when he came up here, and there was talk as well that he wasn't injured the entire time, which most people assumed. But anyway, he's gone now. He's disappeared into the abyss. And but yeah, it was just so vital to clear out the decks. And when you look at the way the transfers have went compared to last summer, you can look at all the guys that are coming in for the first team, and none of them have that tag of being, with the exception of Sinisalo, the backup goalkeeper, because we have a feeling what's going on there is he's going to be tutored essentially to take over from Casper. But I wouldn't say that any of them fit that profile, a project player. But yeah, to see so much of the deadwood going has been huge as well, Liam, because yeah, there was just so many that were just collecting a wage week in, week out and contributing nothing. And say Awata looks like he's maybe heading out tonight as well in the Vrotsky. But yeah, it was massive, wasn't it, Liam, for that to happen?
I mean, it just shows you how bad some of our recruitment has been. Some of these guys, some of them had plenty of chances. Some of them we didn't see much of, like, Lagerbielke and that. Or when we did see him, he didn't look that bad. I'm concerned he's still trying to get rid of Nuroki. I believe Awata's gone. I think Big Rocky will be gone by the end of the window, probably. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely cleared house. You know, we've got some good money for some of them. I think if we'd tried to sell Mickey Johnson at the end of his loan spell, rather than him coming playing a couple of games with us and seeing he was surplus, you could have got more money for West Bromwich Albion then. But yeah, I'm just hoping it's clearing the way for people to come in. Somebody coming through that we've got plans in, that's all of a sudden showing up, that's going to take some of these spots and that. Because yeah, we had a lot of draws, but my God, we went through it all last year. You know, so many of them we've seen 3-4 games. You know, so a lot of them had chances. Mikey Johnson, you know what? Good on the boy. He's done well. No complaints with him. Just wasn't Celtic's level, and he couldn't do it in a Celtic jersey. He'll probably be okay. I think Lagerbielke could go on to play really well. I think we'll probably see him showing up again in some European competition or something. Well, he'll score against us definitely. You know.
Yeah, well, he's FC20 he went to, so they are in one of the European competitions. I'm pretty sure Europa League or the Conference League, but yeah, he's only away for a year-long loan. It's very rare, in Mikey Johnson's case, for players come back from these types of loans and play more games for the first team. Maybe, you never know what the future holds for Lagerbielke, but that's another one that's up there with a really bizarre one, the way we've handled that. But yeah, over the last year, say Brendan was very consistent in his, I've got to get the squad numbers down. And it seems like he's actually got his wish on that one. And say many of us fans have got our wish there because there were just too many that were definitely picking up a wage, not contributing much. So yeah, it's good to see a bit more streamlined. It makes Brendan's life a bit easier at training and whatnot. He's working with a smaller, more condensed squad. And yeah, in terms of, let's talk about another addition that might be coming in tonight as well. It's doing the rounds all day. It was doing the rounds as well earlier in the window. And when it came up, Russell, the Luke McCown one, I remember me and David talked about it on a Tuesday Ticket episode, and I was shocked to learn that the boy is in his mid-20s. I genuinely thought he was late teens, early 20s, genuinely, because I'll be honest, I don't pay much attention to many teams in the SPFL other than Celtic. If they're playing I will. But McCown, I just felt like was one of these boys like Lennon Miller, who's bust on the scene. He's had a good start at Dundee, and I thought, oh, young Scottish talent, fair enough. But his name's been around. When he came up a few weeks ago again, talking about it, the few things that puzzled me about it, Russell, was we seemed to be competing with Hibs for him. And I was like, I can get us competing with a Premier League team or an English Championship team for a player. But I was like, are we seriously competing with Hibernian for a player's signature from the SPFL? Seems like Hibs have definitely backed out of this one. There's a lot of talk that McCown will happen tonight. And again, I said to David at the time, realistically, where does he fit in? Is he coming in just to tick a box, just to tick that UEFA Scottish homegrown quota? I actually, funny enough, said to David and Vegan at the time that to me, the best I could see really is he takes a Watters spot in the club where he gets a game here and there. Most of the time comes on in a game to help show it up and see it out. And interestingly enough, Watter looks like he's heading out tonight and Luke McCown looks like he's coming in. So the stars have aligned on that one. But out of now that I've had a chance to look back on it, when you look at the talent outside of Celtic and Rangers in this division, and you look at the standout ones, Majowski was obviously the big one that was a big standout, and this boy Miller. But I think McCown, when you do look at the numbers and whatnot, he is a solid enough option. I think he'll do fine. I don't think he'll be outstanding. He won't go on to displace anyone in our midfield. But I think it's a sensible enough move, solid enough hand. He's experienced enough. He's been 26, 27, which again took me by surprise. But yeah, it looks like that one's probably happening. Are you on board with that one, Russell, or are you just kind of like mixed on it?
No, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. I think we need obviously the homegrown quota to be addressed anyway. So Watt out, he doesn't fit that criteria. McCowan in, there's a tick straight away from that perspective. But I also think McCowan comes in far greater vein of confidence, form, and know-how of the league than what Watt, who's leaving, does. Watt might have came for the J League and one of the bigger clubs and things, and has a wee bit more, I don't know, seems a wee bit more pedigree, but. See, to be honest with you, it's up to the manager. If the manager thinks the guy Luke McCown's impressed him enough last season that he would be able deputy for this first team squad, I'm all for it. I wouldn't no problem. The age thing blows the fucking life out of me. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I don't see the point. We need to sign every single player. It needs to be 2021. Is that not what we just discussed as being a failure in the recruitment strategy? That everyone was a project. So sometimes you need just to get ready-made, ready to go into the squad, ready to fight for a jersey. Yeah, it'll be tricky for him, but you know what? It's horses for courses as well. Sometimes there's going to be league games up at Dingwall and all these examples. You know, you can run off the tongue. He's got the know-how of all that. There's nothing that he's going into where you're dropping him in. You're dropping him in at complete random, and he needs time to get to grips with it. I also think there'd be league games where you're looking at Callum McGregor. How many years do we want? If everyone's obsessed with age, right?
Yeah.
We've got a 31, 32-year-old Callum McGregor. What? Just do another 60 starts this season? Is that what we're after? So if you want, you kind of have it both ways with the age thing. If 26 is old, 32, fucking hell, he should be going for his pensions, you know what I mean? So with that logic, by the way, I don't know that I subscribe to that. But I actually think that you know, McGregor could be doing me. You know, firstly, the fact he's retired from international football tells you all you need to know. Things are taking its toll a wee bit, and he is beginning to realise he's not a machine anymore. You know? And by the way, astronomical number of games that he's started in over the last 10 seasons. I mean, it's actually a joke. When no one, there's not a criticism that he might be feeling the pace of that now whatsoever. It was an abnormal amount of football to play each season. To balance that out. I want to balance it with someone who Brendan thinks is good enough to deputise in games that Brendan will think will be comfortable enough in to get the points. I don't think we're saying a wee diddy here. I don't think this is an embarrassing one. I mean, I look at some of the other signings we made. Scott McDonald was about 23 when he joined. Gary Caldwell, 24, 25. Barry Robson, 29. Paul Hartley, 29. They all did okay, didn't they? Mid-20s players. Not everyone needs to be 18. I would have liked a wee show of ambition in terms of just going back to being the bullies of the league. And I don't mean this in a bad way. Folk might not think it's good for Scottish football, but that's not my concern. I would have liked to have seen them just go, what is it you want for Lennon Miller? Say it's 2 million, 3 million pounds. We'll pay it and loan him back next year. But that rubber stamps that the best young prospect at 17, 18 years old in the country is actually registered to Celtic. I think that's statement stuff. Do you know what I mean? But as for Luke McCowan, I don't know why I kept calling Dylan McCowan last night. I don't even know who that is.
Dylan McGeer and Luke McCowan put together, just a wee hybrid. But still, the Love comes in and backs up your points. I would be snobbish about buying experienced Scottish players since Barry Robson and Paul Hartley. Of course, who can forget? You know, they were fantastic signings. They came in, well, both of them came in a January window, but a year apart. But it was ended up being Scott Brown and Nadati started that season, and with 9-10 games to go, Scotland Strachan just realised that I need to go this route, and it worked. So they come in, they do job, and so you're totally right to talk about. You know, this boy's played against all these teams. There's no adaptation to really be done. So it's a no risk one. I say what I'm saying about the age though is I just genuinely, because I hadn't really paid much attention, hadn't heard him. See, when I heard he was 26, I was like, really? I just genuinely didn't even know that was how old he was. Not as a bad thing. No, that's absolutely fine. As the players, you know, are still playing to a lot older these days, well into the late 30s. Whatnot, so it's not really an issue at all. But yeah, he'll come in and he'll do a job. No doubt about it when he's called upon. So it looks like it's going to happen. Obviously, nothing's been confirmed yet. I've got my eye on the Celtic Twitter feed as well and Sky Sports News on my TV next to me to see if anything flashes up. But yeah, we're still waiting on Engels and we're waiting on McCowan potentially getting announced. So Engels will definitely happen. McCowan might go down to the wire. If there's another one out there though, who knows? I mean, Regan, the Oracle, did say we'll sign 5 this week. So Regan's a man that's showing that he's in the know. He gets told something. So we'll wait and see. I did hear rumours of a winger at Chelsea, but to say Chelsea's a good place to go and look, I guess, for players right now because they are busting at the seams, but nothing seems to have came of that. That was a sort of loose link this morning. That we were looking at a player from Chelsea, but yeah, so nothing's really came to fruition there just now. But yeah, in terms of like any other sort of incomes and outgoings at the moment, let's see, we've got came in confirmed Casper Schmeichel, Sinisalo, Idah, Bernardo, Valle, Alex, and Austin Trusty. So we're still waiting on Engels coming in. But Liam, let's start to look at. Let's get your reaction actually, because obviously Russell was on last night with Mark as the Champions League drops on. Let's talk about that first then, because you and I have not had a chance to have a say on it. Tuesday night was on with doing the Tuesday ticket with David and Regan. At the end of the show, I asked the two of them, who's a team that you really want to get? And the one that I said was Aston Villa. I was really up for getting Aston Villa, not for like, oh, I think we'll beat them and stuff. I'm not super confident. It's more that the English fans, their attitude towards European football, the bigger clubs are a bit snobbish. Even though it's the Champions League, it's the Premier competition. But see when your teams like City and Liverpool and Arsenal who've been through it quite a few times, they don't care. Like, if we'd drawn Man City and had a trip to the Etihad, it would just be like the one in 2017 with their fans. So it's all tourists, right? They genuinely don't care till it gets down to the latter stages. I looked at Newcastle last year in the Champions League. Their fans were loving every minute of it. It was a proper, big feel to all of their games. And I think it was the same with Villa. To get them at Villa Park as well. Out of the 4 English teams there, they are the most beatable. I say that loosely because they are a good team and Unai Emery's a good manager. But I think that'll be an occasion that night. I think when you see the fixture list that night in the Champions League or in European football, I think that Birmingham will be the place to be for that one. So I'm really looking forward to that match in particular. That one's going to be a tasty one. And if I'm right in saying, I think it's the first time we've played Aston Villa in a competitive game as well. I don't think we've ever drawn them in the past. But what was your reaction to the draw, Liam, initially, and any particular ties that you're really like, salivating about?
It was a number of things. I was really pleased with the draw. I didn't see it till later on. I had to go and do something. But I was really pleased with it as far as the teams went, because one of the things I hate is when I like getting drawn against the big teams, the big brand teams, right? When you see everybody wearing kits on holiday from the PSGs, the Inters, and that. I always think there's a lot of favouritism from the refereeing and stuff when you play their teams. There's a mindset that, they can't, like underdog. Like we always seem to get unfairly punished against their teams. So I was glad to see other teams coming in that maybe don't have the same sort of name as Celtic and that do. I mean, they're all credible, but I'm looking for like a big brand team. So we managed to, Dortmund probably being the big one, right? But yeah, we managed to avoid all them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I think every single one of them is beatable. I think that's why, all of a sudden this transfer window came on really hard again for everybody. And it was like, all right, who can we get across the line? Because we're seeing what now happens when, all right, none of those teams are really in any position to sort of, crush us or cruise over us like some of the tanking we take off big teams. No. I think we have, I think Rangers got a harder group for their UEFA draw than we did.
Big Ange coming back to Glasgow.
I know. But again, the teams we're playing are no mugs. So,
no, I know.
I thought their draw was far harder as well. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought it was far harder than ours.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to see Aston Villa play because I think it'll be good to see some of the pundits we're going to bring on. It's got both Celtic and Aston Villa connections. You got Martin, Stan Petrov,
Collymore. I think we'll be on it as well because he's Celtic daft, isn't he? Thompson played with Aston Villa.
He did, right?
So
Paul McGrath nearly signed for Celtic. Did you know that one, Russell? Did you know that?
Oh, did he? Did he? Paul McGrath?
Apparently so.
He nearly joined City. He'd have been amazing for Celtic. I've never heard that in my life. Well, thanks for that.
David Ginola also, he nearly joined as well. He played for Aston Villa too. Joe Henry's came out and said, remember, we pumped Blackburn. I know Russell remembers that very well because that's his favourite game of all time. In fact, Celtic were wearing this exact shirt. There you go. What a seamless link. Fantastic. Cheers for that,
I was looking at the comment there and JM's came in. I think this is brilliant because I don't know if he's meant it. Half my family are Villa. They're all buzzing that they're joining us. Masib Club. Good evening.
Good evening. Good B, by the way.
I was like, is he put that B instead of a V there on purpose? I was like, good pattern if so. If not, that's just funny how that sort of thing works out. So I enjoyed that to get that up. That was killing me, man.
Yeah. Well, massive Irish community in Birmingham as well. So I'd imagine there probably is a few down there that probably do have a leaning towards Celtic. So it's going to be, it's going to be an occasion. John McGinn will definitely be on. I believe he's the captain of Aston Villa. I think he is. So it'll be John McGinn and Callum McGregor shaking hands in the centre circle at the start. But once that whistle goes, we're out to get a result that night. But no, I'm looking forward to that one. But the thing about the draw that I found interesting, Russell, is I've going into it, I was trying to get my head around it. I understood it was going to be done by AI, but I was like, how are they going to make this an event? How are they going to get me invested watching this. And obviously, they ripped the arse out a wee bit, making Ronaldo just stand there and press
40
a
minutes
button.
before that team's drawn, do you know what I mean?
But,
It's like, come on.
I did get quite invested, but one thing I did like when I saw it overall is it's not all the same teams, because I was like, I bet you end up with Barcelona, AC Milan, Shakhtar, Benfica. I know beggars can't be choosers, but it was quite refreshing to look at our fixture list and go, well, we've played Red Bull Leipzig in recent years, but the rest of them, some of them we've never even played, and some of them we've not played for a very, very long time. I think the last time we played Dortmund in a competitive game would have been the early 90s in the UEFA Cup. I think we had a game against Young Boys of Bern sometime in the 80s and 90s. But I say Villa, that's a new one. Slovan Bratislava. I know Bratislava does bring back some bad memories, but it's a different team. Club Brugge. Interestingly, Ernie Engels coming in. He used to play for Club Brugge. So there's a storyline right away. But in Dynamo Zagreb, we got them in a Ronnie UEFA Europa League group. I'm pretty sure we got Dynamo Zagreb. But yeah, it's quite refreshing, I think. So overall, I would say the draw in the new format is actually quite good. Whether it's a success, who knows in terms of how it plays out for us. But just in terms of just the general feel, it's got me more excited for the Champions League instead of the same old groups and teams of four or groups of four. And you usually find that a lot of the same teams draw each other. There was something quite... It's got me properly buzzing for it now. And hopefully I'm not in the depths of despair come the middle of December when we're 6 games through it and we're struggling. But how are you feeling then, Russell, now that 24 hours have passed?
Well, it's interesting because I was describing it last night as the least glamorous Champions League draw that we've had. Yet it must be the only draw we've ever had where we've had 2 sides in it that were in both the major European finals last year. Atalanta winning the Europa League, Dortmund runners-up. That only occurred to me today. So it was a wee bit remiss last night to be getting a wee bit overexcited. You cannot knock that sort of form. I mean, that is literally... That is fantastic. I think unique for us. I don't remember ever having that before. Someone could correct me. I'll probably fucking know. But that's, if they're like the sort of ties that we're thinking, oh, looks a wee bit favourable, then think again is what I would say to that. I certainly think pot 4 is crucial in terms of what order we're going to play these games. I'm going to guess it will go in a round robin that we'll do. I don't know what order, but it'll be a pot 1, a pot 2, a pot 3, a pot 4. And then another round of pot 1, 2, 3, 4, but in whatever order you can shuffle that order about. We don't want to be playing, in my opinion, Villa second as the second pot 4 side. I think we ideally, I've thought about this today. I think you want Bratislava game match day 1. I don't think we'll get that, but I think if that were to be the case, match day 1, what folk forget with this is the confidence it can build will be irrelevant to the league form. They'll carry it on their Champions League form going into each game, I think. And if we were to, by the way, not writing off Bratislava, they're here on merit as well, by the way. But I just think out the teams, it's fair to say they look the most favourable. Whether they are or not, I don't know because I don't watch them. But you would say they're the most favourable. Therefore, imagine Celtic getting off to a blistering Champions League start. When the fuck's that ever happened either? And then suddenly, even the trickier games, you're going into with a slightly different perspective. You're going in with a slight more optimism. And a bit more. And I actually think the draw itself has delivered that in the first place anyway, to be perfectly honest with you, Liam. I think when we've seen that draw, I heard Brendan talking about it today. He's as well as saying, I thought the draw was kind as fuck. That's what he was on the verge of saying. He was buzzing with that draw. You could tell. He's delighted with the draw. He said, he's giving the game away there. He thinks this is a draw Celtic can make some sort of dent, and so do I. But talk is cheap. We'll find out, when we're there, just how good these supposed smaller clubs are. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that the Europa League and Champions League finalists, 1-1, 1 drew, both in our group this year. So, fucking no mugs anywhere in this tournament.
Got to remember Atlanta beating Leverkusen, who were the Invincibles last season. If nobody saw that coming at all. They absolutely wiped the floor with Leverkusen. It wasn't even like, Atlanta flipped it with a last-minute goal. They battered them, put them in their place. Adamola Lookman scored. Inter 4-0 up against them just now. So yeah, they're definitely not to be taken lightly. But as I say, I'm excited for it. And the thing is, last night, Liam, and this is so crucial, and I know we've said this a million times talking about our European forum, we have to make Celtic Park a fortress. And Liam, look at the way the fixtures have came out. The 4 home ties. You get RB Leipzig, Club Brugge, Slovan Bratislava, and I believe Young Boys. of Bern. Out of the 8 games, if you could have asked for 4 teams, the only one you might have swapped was Leipzig. Well, Leipzig were a pot 1 team, so it was either that or Dortmund. It was one or the other. But you couldn't ask for a better 4 at home. And I say, I know that our home form is just as bad as our away form. But if ever, Liam, there was a chance or a time to turn that around, and the unique thing is, this format's never been done, so we don't know what the benchmark is to get through. We'd obviously gauged in the previous format, Liam, that 9 points is usually enough, although Celtic did manage to get 9 points twice and not qualify. But 9 points, 10 points would always be like, you're surely through at that point. But this, we don't know. It's just a case of just get as many points on the board as possible. We've been handed 4 games at home against, to say, Young Boys of Bern, Club Brugge, Red Bull Leipzig, and Slovan Bratislava. If Celtic can turn that around and get those results, could it be 12 points on the board there and then just get something away from home? Maybe even 12 points will be enough. But you look at the performances last season, and yes, ultimately we still finished bottom of the group. But we gave a good showing against Lazio, and we got sucker punched at the end. We bloodied the nose of Atletico Madrid last season as well. Okay, it was a point. It wasn't enough in the end. But that night coming away from the stadium, there was a real, that felt like an old school performance in the Champions League. You felt like we went toe-to-toe with a European giant and gave them a fright. We were unlucky maybe not to beat Atletico that night. So you'd look at their performances and go, right, adding those quality players and having those 4 games at home, it's there. We know what the goal is there, Liam. Are they going to do it, though? Are they going to take it? Are they going to grab the brass ring and take it, mate?
I think it comes down to momentum, and we'll see that momentum this weekend when we play Rangers as well. Right now, the way Celtic played against Man City, the way they played against Chelsea, what I've seen so far in the Scottish League, but watching, and I know I'm talking about friendlies for everybody jumps on me, right? I think you're seeing Celtic is playing a playing style right now that will benefit us in Europe, and not sort of like that what we were relying on last year. You know, there's a couple of factors as well. You know, can the new boy pick up the same sort of understanding with Kyogo to, start looking for him in the same spaces and that? Will we be able to pick out more of those spaces? All those will define how well we do in the Champions League. I thought Matt O'Reilly and Kyogo performed really well last year in far as like setting setting Kyogo up for goals and that. Let's see what we can build on in this. We also, we're playing with Scales. Scales had some really good games in the Champions League last year with Carter Vickers being out. So that shows you as well that if we do get players coming in for any sort of fault where we lose a player, there is a chance that, these sort of games are enough to people to raise their game, and that comes down to the manager, And so how much can Brendan get them up for these games? How much of the recruitment strategy that he's been behind is talking to Schmeichel and saying, listen, you get a chance to go out on the Champions League again, and not, in somewhere in obscurity or, no, Champions League. You belong on a world stage. And so part of his recruitment to guy and getting the psychology of the new boys coming in, because this is starting to look like his team, I think that has to show up in Champions League. Or otherwise, same old. You haven't moved anywhere from last year. So I think we'll see a lot of the new players playing roles in the Champions League this year, and I think deservedly so. And we know that if somebody like falls out, we've got somebody like Scales that will come in and do his very, very best to do it. And, same with Greg Taylor as well. Just his boys shouldn't be starting. That's all.
Well, here's an interesting one about the Blues. People are talking.
We've done 50 minutes. We've done 50 minutes, right?
I've just found out McLaughlin Prefect says Hope Boyata plays for Club Brugge. Dedrick Boyata coming back to Celtic Park. Because people are debating in the chat about Bruges are going to be dangerous, but there's a few people saying their defence is terrible. Dedrick Boyata plays for them.
What was the song? It didn't really get sang that much, but I remember at the time it was to Billy Joel. We didn't start the fire, wasn't it?
We didn't sign Denier, but it doesn't matter because we signed Boyata. Yeah,
that
was a good one. It was.
What I was going to say as well, I find really compelling about the compelling, but I find that about the new format is we scalp say we're fucking getting ahead of myself here. We say we scalp a Bratislava. Let's just say we do.
Yeah.
We're not keeping an eye out to see if any of the other teams we play against have that result against them, because they may well not be playing them.
That's right.
Fascinating. Everyone's got their unique 8-game path. And I think that will take a lot of adaptation. I'm going to suggest some in the chat probably haven't even twigged that that's the case. They'll be thinking we're in a wee group here.
Yep.
And it's going to be, we'll be checking out for Villa's results against Club Brugge, for example. No. It doesn't work like that. I think that's really, really interesting and gives this whole league format that they're going for just a wee bit more credibility, because it does at least seem like you're on a unique trajectory. It is a fair spread of games if you're all 2 teams pot 2, 2 teams pot 3, but etc. Pot 1. Don't know why didn't start with 1. But you know what I mean. All these teams are on their own journey, so you're not going to see, fucking parking the bus away from home and all this shite. Yeah. The away goal thing that changed a good few years ago, I think, has been better for free flowing football. Also, and I think people get stuck in their ways. There's Paddy in the background just gallantly climbing about below my sign. I don't know if you can see it. There he is, Paddy the Paddy.
There he is, eh?
Hey! But I generally think that, I think it gives it a bit of freshness, the Champions League that it was in. And you know what? Not just is it quite cool, the group we're in terms of we think there's opportunity, and that's what I was calling it last night. Not the group, but the path that we're on is full of opportunity. But you're also seeing teams popping up left, right, and centre you don't always accustom. And I think there's no more striking point, like I was saying earlier. Dortmund in a Champions League final and Atalanta in a Europa League final, not always associated with that. The clubs you were referring to, Liam, earlier, when you're listing off your PSGs, Man Cities, etc. So I think there just seems to be a bit more variety in it this year. It does seem freshened up for the good. And I do think it presents clubs like ours with a greater chance of making it 10 Champions League games. Now, if I put the business hat on, which I don't like fucking doing, I hate that being everyone's go-to, but if we do think like that, you make it to that last 24, that's 10 Champions League games, 5 home games. You're looking at money here, like coming out, but not just that. You're playing nearly double if you get to 10, what you normally do in a group, right? Say we went out after 10. 10 Champions League games in terms of these players' development is massive. This is speeding up Celtic's evolution as well, because they're getting more, they're more exposed to such a competitive and elite level environment. So when you look at it from that point of view, this is a real win-win. Celtic, this is where I'll bring balance to it. Celtic's underestimated the importance of this fucking tournament for too long.
Yes.
And that's why everything's riding. I don't know, you might correct me if I'm wrong here, Phil. Can we still get automatic group qualification next season, or is that set in stone?
The Premier League winner next season drops into the playoff round, the one right before it.
And that's set in stone no matter what's achieved this year.
That's set in stone, yep. That is. Right. The second place team has to go through 2 rounds of qualifying.
And isn't that damning when you look at, as I say, this path of opportunity that we're on now, innit? And they've underestimated the value of this massively and let that coefficient drop so bad that now we don't have that golden opportunity of guaranteed access to this version of the Champions League. That's unacceptable, by the way. So anyone thinks this club's amazing at business, get fucking real. Because if you want to talk business, that's £30 million they just chucked away going into next season for tooling up an elite manager with project players last year for the toughest tournament in club football. Bizarre.
Yeah, it's we're going to the top of the format there and, potentially missing out on that now. Because I was one of the ones when I saw the new thing proposed, I was like, it ain't broke, don't fix it, in terms of I'm used to what it is. Do we really need this? Did anybody ask for this? Of course, it's probably been born out the back of the whole Super League rebellion a couple of years ago. UEFA have thrown this together to try and appease them. But now that I've seen it in action and now that I see what's ahead for us, I'm like, I want more of this. I want more of this every season now.
Totally agree with you, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm on board. I know the Europa League's followed the same format and all that, but, at the end of the day, the Champions League is the one with the glamour. I'd love us to do really well in the Europa League, but to get there, you've got to fail at either not winning our title, which isn't an option, or you need to fail in the qualifiers for the Champions League, which, again, we've become too accustomed to recently. And
it would be a real tragedy if we find ourselves watching from the outside on this tournament as it evolves and grows.
Yeah,
That'll
totally.
be a real tragedy. If
Yeah.
everyone's happy with domestic bliss, I think that means brilliant business. You're in cuckoo land. I'm sorry, you're miles off it with what Celtic can be, Alien. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, it's not just down to the big, the big five clubs at this point, because now you'll start to see other clubs evolving that become really good Champions League clubs because they take it seriously, invest in it. You wait up to teams like Brighton and all that start getting involved. You don't think they'll notice the relevancy of that right away and the amount of opportunity that's at stake for them to evolve as a football club if they're looking at what they're doing as developing something that's ongoing and bigger than just being representing the tune of Brighton? They're trying to build something bigger there. So, yeah, I mean, that's what you're going to see is change football. And I think there's something romantic about it as well, too, where it does give you an opportunity to go and play against other teams in a one-off tie. And I think that becomes a different way of how you recruit players, how you look at your management structure and all that as well. It's like, who do you got that can come in and play one good game when you need them to? And, and just, and the fact as well that it's an extra 10 games to the season as well. We need to be bolstered in our squad so that we have that resiliency, so that when we are competing in these things, it's not detrimental to the other, one league to the other, because we've not got sufficient players to fill the roles and, keep it going,
Definitely. Of course, Pato did come in and point out that, let me find the comment again. I'm just going to go on. Celtic can qualify automatically for the next season by winning it. Yes, of course we can. How naive of me to forget that one. And Chris Roundtree's pointed out it's now 2.1 million for a
Is
win
it as much as
in
that?
the Champions League. Oh my God.
I mean, I'd read yesterday, a nice tongue-in-cheek tweet yesterday. They're beat by good banter. Friendly rivalry patter, ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
And it was saying Rangers will get something like 380 grand if they beat Man United, and Spurs we'll get 1.7 million if we beat Bratislava. They must be like that. And I've said this before on the channel about a year ago. Everywhere they fucking turn, man, the last few years are just slamming doors. Absolute doors slamming in their face everywhere. But our garden seems to somehow fucking grow. How exciting though? How exciting is it though to think that I think David Kelly in the chat said earlier, actually I know he's been a wee bit playful with the words, but it's harder to go out than it is to stay in. What he's meaning is in the law of percentages, more teams stay in the competition than actually exit it. Now, if that were to be the case, I think just as a statement, I think for the coefficient points, I think for the confidence, us just making sure we're in that top 24 now. Because see, when you think about it as well, it's quite tricky to go from a pool of 32 teams and make the last 16. It's quite a cut-off. And you can see how tricky that is. This is giving more opportunity for sides like us to have that feel of being part of the mix, having opportunities to stay in the competition. And yeah, two-legged playoffs then format. I love the fact they then bring it back midway through the tournament, and that keeps it all fresh, keeps it all mixed up. I think Celtic should be targeting that top 24. No two ways about that. And regardless of the result, I just think for the evolution of the team, it'll be massive if we can get 10 Champions League level games this season instead of the usual 6. It'd be fantastic for Brendan's players. He's wanting to keep kicking on, and undeniably, we've seen them kick on this season from last. Think how much that speeds it up if you've got nearly double the Champions League games. So loads of reasons why it's so important that we do actually make that top 24. And I think Brendan was talking earlier, Mike. He was saying, we're not there to. I think he was close to saying we're not there to take part, we're there to take over. But he, held himself back. But he definitely was saying, along the lines of, we're not there to participate. That was the word he used. He said, we're not there just to participate. And good. That's what that's the right attitude. And it's what we want under Brendan. And he gets better than anyone. Sorry for rambling on. Is he wants points, not plaudits. Ange Postecoglou FC, 100%, whether people love him or not, you cannot deny the only one who came away with credibility for our Champions League campaigns was the fucking manager for the style of football and got himself a gig down south. That lack of pragmatism at times, that lack of awareness of and respect for the tournament you're in, undeniably leads to just getting 2 points. Undeniably leads to going out to teams like Bodo Glimt. Undeniably leads to things like getting beat off Midtjylland, I don't care what version of Celtic it is, we were absolutely slapped aside by them with ease. A team that had Eric Sviatchenko as captain. These are the realities. I think Brendan will be far more about points than plaudits because he's acutely aware, Phil. He gets on the plaudits if he fucking gets the points anyway.
Well, do you know what I'm acutely aware of right now? I am acutely aware of some breaking news, everybody. Get the yellow ticker up. Yeah, we've seen a few comments coming in. I did notice on Sky Sports News a few minutes ago they crossed over to Luke Shanley live at Celtic Park, and he confirmed that Engels is in the building. And we've also got, let's see, Stephen Kennedy's came in and said that Celtic and Dundee are finalising the deal right now for Luke McCown. People have said in the comments that, there you go, Scott Melville's also said that McCown incoming according to Sky Sports.
Brilliant.
And Kierdo also says Engels has arrived at Celtic Park, because earlier on I'd seen them up, so I'd muted my mic and tried to listen into what they were saying, but I did pick up something about Engels. Engels has arrived in the building, so I was like, right, okay, so he's there. So somebody else in the comments also said, hurry up and give him a pen. You know, somebody give me the pen when you need it.
Liam, I need your take on this, mate. You're Mr. Culture on the bus.
Right.
I'm seeing it all over Twitter, mate. I need you to put a stop to this madness. They're going to start singing I'm Loving Engels instead. I can't deal with it, mate. Robbie Williams, I can't have that getting sang at Celtic Park. Rodney Williams getting fucking belted at Celtic Park. We're meant to be talking about paradise being a fortress. This is ours. Then we start singing fucking that karaoke fucking singing shitebag. Oh no. Liam, put a stop to this madness.
Yeah, I'm no familiar with Robbie Williams tunes and all that.
Angels. I'm loving Angels instead. Fucking no. Ooh, that actually killed a bit of me there.
Cool music then. I was listening to cool music back then. I hope we don't sing any shite songs like that. It's like,
it's coming.
We'll get a good song for them. Don't know what will be yet, but so up there.
Tell them to stop it, mate. They'll listen to you.
Varga. All we need is Stanislav Varga. That was my favourite song of all time.
Of course, as well. The other link this window was Odson. You know, like what to be Eduardo was hard to beat. That was seeing all the fans do. That was a brilliant.
Off to Leicester City tonight, apparently. That's
isn't it funny the roundabouts that we go on in football, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That dragon soup's kicking in, by the way. You can tell, eh? Drinking it now. I'm fucking flying now, man.
Now that we've passed the hour and we're now waiting on Engels and McCown signing. Maybe somebody else, who knows, but we're on to the 11 o'clock. Somebody asked in the chat, are we on right through to the end of it? Yes, we are. It's a 2-hour Friday night. We're always free. It's just like the Bustalgia days. It's just like that. You know, we've gone back in time, literally. You know, back to a throwback on the bus. But let's talk about, there's a certain game this weekend, boys. You might not have noticed, you might have forgot. We've even said at the top of the show, it's very easy to forget, but yes, we are indeed playing the first derby of the season at Celtic Park. There's no away fans. Again, I believe the Celtic obviously have done their part in modifying the away end. There's a net now up as well, but it'll be no use this week. So it'll be all Celtic fans the whole way around. But as we said, Brendan spoke about it last week. It's all their fault. It's a Rangers problem, not a Celtic problem. They started all this. Anyway, the game. We have started the season pretty damn well, to say the least, regardless of what we may have thought up until the recruitment up until this week, Liam. Brendan is definitely getting a tune out of the players that are available. I fully expect that the players will start on Sunday will be the team that's been starting every week. Maybe Idah drops out, Kyogo comes back in. But I think right now, I don't think he's going to throw any of the new boys in to start. But he might if they're fit enough. But I think it's a bit too much already. But right now, why change a winning team? Because they are playing very, very well. The passing and the pressing right now has been excellent. Brendan was talking about it in his conference earlier today when he was asked about, what do you think's been the difference this season to the way you have been playing? And right away, Brendan said it's the pressing. The pressing and the passing together has been excellent. We've been doing it a lot better than what we were doing 12 months ago. The way we're on top of them. And of course, when you think about pressing against Rangers and you think about a Celtic player that could do it all day and a Rangers player who doesn't particularly like it, now, we were told he was leaving the building and he was off to Turkey, but no, Tavernier is still in the building. And Dyson Maeda loves a battle with James Tavernier. And the same with the way we're playing right now, I'm really looking forward to that one, Liam, on Sunday down that side. Should be good fun, I think.
I mean, any Dragon Ball Z fans out there, Wayne's watched Dragon Balls. I mean, I love the new Maeda since he's went Super Saiyan with the blonde hair and that. I think he's actually good. You know he's got to be thinking that. Their support is thinking that. You know, it's disappointing we're not playing them at Ibrox first. Or at Hampden, wherever they play now, right? Sorry. So, too soon. I think he's going to give them nightmares, and I think you'll see the entire heat goes down if their captain starts getting dragged about all over the place and then made to look vulnerable, which is what he ends up doing. He shows the frailties in Tavernier's game, where he's great and he's mobile going forward, but my God, he gets confused going backwards. And the other two guys that are back there with him are not the same guys there that used to be able to support him and help bail him out from time to time. No. It's untested back there now. I don't know if Soter's still playing or he's off now, but they've just got a terrible back line. And I think the more and more that we've been playing well, I think Dyson Maeda has been a big part of that. He's been that drive forward. And he got named in UEFA as the third fastest player in Europe so far this season, based on his running ability. Some givers clocking that stuff.
And the best presser in world football, says Sutton. The best presser.
Yeah.
No, he said the best. Sutton said the best presser, not the fastest. He said he was the best. That was fair.
Anyway, it's going to be giving him nightmares. That's going to give him their whole back line nightmares. So what that's going to do is hopefully that's going to create a gap for Kyogo to exploit as well. Even if it's no Maeda causing the damage himself, that opens up the place for Kyogo to fill that space. It looks for McGregor. The only one thing I think we're missing, remember, it's not the same team. It's not the same winning team. Matt O'Reilly's not there. So I think bringing the new boy, if that boy's there, he's already up to speed. He's playing Bundesliga. I think you put him in and he plays his first game. I think that's the team. You go with everybody else. I'll even take Taylor over the new boy, but that's just because I've not seen the new boy yet. You know?
Yeah, well, the only other outcome with the midfield is if, with O'Reilly now being gone, the Bernardo keeps his place in the team. Obviously, he stepped up last season and had some crucial moments against Rangers, scored against them at the new year. Obviously, set up Idah for the game in the free each game. And, of course, it was his shot, which was obviously rebounded right out to Idah. So he has had his moments against them. But you're right in what you're saying. If this boy Engels has played a full pre-season, and has played, obviously, I think he started the game last weekend in the Bundesliga, playing at a very high standard. He's going to be fighting fit. Good players. I know there's a whole thing about, but adapting to the tactics and all that. Good players can adapt. And if he is what we think he is, he can come in. And I said earlier on, players have made their debut in this fixture and have came through it with flying colours. Sometimes it's just the adrenaline of it. It just gets you through, There's no nerves, no time to think about it, no time to dwell. Just put right in there. So to me, I think he could easily do that, and also they won't
what
be.
What does it
do
for Bernardo if they do that, Phil?
What does it do for Bernardo?
Yeah, if you were to be dropped out after just sort of getting his opportunity last week, I thought he looked very good, particularly in the first half. I thought he looked very good, if I'm honest. And it's a fixture he's got forming. This is the guy whose Scottish Cup final strike was parried. This is the guy who scored that cracking volley at Celtic Park against them. He's been pretty definitive in his few minutes against Rangers, his few appearances, I should say, against Rangers. I'm not sure it's the greatest message that he just comes straight out when our new boys came in on Friday night near an 11 p.m. and is thrown in at midday on the Sunday ahead of you. I'm not sure the optics of that are great for Bernardo. Hey, listen, it's a ruthless business, by the way. Yeah. So it's not about that. I'm not saying that's what you base your decision on. I'm just saying, from his perspective, what do you think it does to him? Not saying that you make your decision based on that. Fuck that. It's about winning football matches. You play the best team you can. That's what Brendan Rodgers is paid to do. But I'm just wondering, from Bernardo's perspective, if that'd be quite a kick in the balls. Do you know what I mean? After completing your parent move, being as patient as he was, Celtic fanning about as usual, missing pre-season, then getting his start because Matt O'Reilly left. Well, Matt O'Reilly was still in the building, but he knew the only reason he was getting a start is because he's about to go. Doing pretty well, and then straight back out for a guy who's been in the door 2 seconds. Not sure the optics of that from Bernardo's perspective are great, albeit, I go back to it, that's not Brendan's problem. I'm just wondering what your take is on how how Bernardo might react to that if it were to be the case.
Well, if you look back at last week and how they lined up and how the game panned out, it was quite weird. Because obviously Bernardo, in terms of just talking about personnel that changed, Mattarelli was out the team because he'd left and Bernardo was in. So most people would think, well, he came in to replace him. But if you actually look at the way they lined up and who was more advanced, Hatate was playing more in the Mattarelli role, being a bit more further advanced. Bernardo was sitting a bit deeper. I thought McGregor was excellent as well. It allowed McGregor a bit more freedom, which is something that we've always been talking about, where if he's sitting deep, it's not, you get the best out of him. So it's weird with Bernardo because people have said, oh, he's came in, he's a replacement for Mattarelli, but they're not the same player in the style that the way they play the game. So I always felt that when O'Reilly leaves and they reshuffle the midfield, Hatate will become the de facto Mattarelli replacement. So does Engels come in for Hatate? Is that something that might be considered? Is that maybe where it goes? I don't know, because there's been some... I mean, I think Hatate's class. I'm not advocating for Hatate to get dropped, Russell. I'm not at all. But I'm just looking at the way Brendan has treated, if treated is the right word for it, over the time that he's been back with Hatate. There's definitely been some tough love, I think. But Hatate, you cannot argue, since he came back from his injury in March, was one of the crucial reasons as to why we won the title and went on to win the double. But to me, there's still, with Brendan, I don't know if maybe Hatate's still a bit too dangerous on the ball and reckless on the ball with some of the passes. Maybe that's not for him, but for Brendan's style. So I wonder if that's where this is going when Engels gets bedded in. Is that who he replaces? That's an interesting thought.
Interesting. What the hell?
So, would you want to be lining up against a £13 million player you just signed, or would you want to be lining up against Paulo Bernardo? I think he'll put the fear into them. I think as a guy that's come, Paulo Bernardo, they know they've played against, well, most of them have. But I think this guy's coming in for Bundesliga. It comes out with a bit of aura, a bit of swagger. $13 million behind, £13 million behind him, biggest ever signing in Scottish football. I don't know. Do you want to be playing against that guy? Because I think playing at home in his home debut, he's going to be trying to play out his skin to justify his wage, and that's a brilliant opportunity. And you want to sign big players to give them opportunity in their biggest games. It makes sense.
I think it's interesting have I got a big echo now?
No. You did a second ago, but you've...
I did a second ago.
What you've done, you fixed it.
Don't know what all that was about. Going for a bit of reverb, guys, a bit of reverb, just to make me sound more rock and roll, mate. But no, I wonder about, I think with Hatate, to be fair, any challenge that Brendan's clearly presented him with, and I think that is the truth, I don't think they've got off in the best footing. I don't think the injury helped him either. We see the pure joy in his face when he scores, that didn't look like a player that's we've kind of all presumed, whether rightfully or wrongly, I think it's a general consensus, to be honest, that, he would go with a drop of a hat if an offer came in. I've really quite seen that happen in terms of transfer requests made. Anyone actually saying that Celtic, he's unhappy, I think it's a lot of assumption on that part. Yeah. In terms of his impact last season, undeniably, the coinciding with our best run of form is when he came back. I'm not saying he's the be-all, end-all for that, but I think he's certainly a huge contributor towards it. And he started this season well. Is he reckless in position, like you say, or is he ambitious in position? I think Brendan calculates and he plays percentage games, and he knows he'll have guys that will be safer in possession, whilst he knows he's got to have at least one or two that are going to take risk, because that's how you get your influence outcomes. It's the only way. So you can't just have everyone playing in this, sort of 90% pass completion rate again the day, Gaffer. But we drew 0-0. Because you're all safe. You've got to have one in there who's willing to sort of take a chance, but has the ability as well to actually execute it when it comes off, will have devastating effects. That's undeniable also.
Well, the thing is, Steve has came out because I think we're overthinking the tactics here. We probably are, to be fair. But see, it makes for debate anyway on that one. And it's interesting with to see we go, because at the end of the day, this is good problems for this is the problems you want the manager to be having. You want him to have these headaches. So yes, maybe we are overthinking it a wee bit, but that's good. That we've got these options now, because you think back to a few weeks ago where we're wondering, what are we doing in this transfer? In fact, I say a few weeks ago, a few days ago, we were wondering, what are we doing in this transfer window? Now suddenly everything's a bit rosy in the garden. Yes, obviously we've been prompted into it, we've been kind of forced into it, but this is what we want. We want the club to have a lot of strong options and players fighting for the jersey. You know, yes, Paulo Bernardo, I agree with what Russ was saying there about the optics of it from his point of view. You know, he's waited patiently, he's got his move to suddenly then drop out for this boy Engels. But again, it's like you want a pool of players fighting for the jerseys. You want that. And it brings the best out of them. We've seen it so many times in the past. And the one that stands out to most people when he's talking about Brendan's first time in charge, Patrick Robertson, James Forrest. That competition, the best we've ever seen of James Forrest was that era under Brendan Rodgers first time round, because Paddy Roberts was a quality winger, same position. And again, it was a rotation policy where whichever one seemed to play always did well. And that's what you want. You want players in all these positions where no matter what option he picks, it's going to be a good option regardless. And you want them fighting with each other for those, not physically fighting with each other, or literally fighting with each other. You don't want that. But yeah, you do want them metaphorically to be battling it out for those positions in the team. And yeah, it's good problems for Brendan to have. But yeah, we thought we were thinking that a little bit. But let's move on to then the forwards and talk about Adam Idah. Liam, obviously, he got a start last week. Safe to say, he looked a bit off it, a bit rusty, but hey, he didn't have much of a pre-season. Spent most of the time sort of try to force his move. But yeah, he will. We know what we can get from him, but I think it's safe to say that Kyogo comes back in on Sunday, Liam.
Part of the thing that's made us dynamic is that pressing that we talked about early. Kyogo's a big part of that. I think we couldn't coming in. I mean, the best way. I mean, kudos to Brendan Rodgers for that not only motivating James Forrest, but finding a guy that's the exact spitting image of Paddy Roberts to do it. Golf clap for that one. I think Kyogo starts up front, and I think we see Idah come on for the last 30 or so. I think that'll be good. He'll come in and change a different dynamic. That will give them something else to think about. But I'm hoping by that time, with that far ahead, that we can bring on Hoopy. Anybody come on, just give everybody a game.
Luke McCowan. Luke McCowan come on for his debut. We never know. If Celtic get to business early and they get the sort of result, I think they're more than capable of getting. I'm not going to lie to you. I think this could be an early goal. And you're looking at, there's a lot of negativity over there. There's a lot of positivity with us. We've seen these momentum shifts. The last time they beat us in a meaningful derby, I understand, was about 3 years ago. So,
the cup semi-final.
We're a big monkey on the back for them right now that they can't shake off. We're a problem. There's no two ways about it. I understand. I don't know why I just turned into Auntie Joseph there. I just read on Twitter. I understand. Fuck off, boys. I read on Twitter there. They've just bought a player for €4 million. It's quite outlay for them. €4 million. It says permanent deal.
What?
So, yeah. Right, a guy for Sassuolo. Yeah.
Oh, right. I knew that they got a guy on loan from Feyenoord. I knew about that, but that came out of nowhere.
They've signed a player for Sassuolo. They've got to be. They've got. It's amazing, isn't it? Because we always accuse Celtic of being so reactive to what Rangers do. You almost get the vibe as soon as Engels yesterday it became apparent that's on like Donkey Kong. They would have to react. And that means 4 million to them is, let's be honest, that's about 20 million to us. Yep. That is a huge, huge chunk of change for them to be investing. When you consider the resources they've got, I don't think for a second it's not related to Celtic being active. Obviously, the manager wants to get improvements, and I get all that. But I also think Rangers will be as guilty as we have at times. You look at your fucking, who was that? But Scott Allen and stuff. I've been just a wee bit like, oh shit, we need to keep up the Joneses a wee bit here. Do you know what I mean? We need to go a wee bit tit for tat at times. And I think, that them spending that sort of money on a player out of nowhere, fair enough. They might get thrown in and bring a curveball to us on Sunday. But my honest opinion is, I just think there's such a momentum shift. I look at the form that we're in particular, and I look at, you can slag me off all you want, but I've watched plenty of their games this season. Again, it's kind of when football's on the telly that's Celtic related, always watch. If Rangers related, tend to watch. If I'm about, that's the honest truth. That's our rivals. That's what. And it might sound like I'm being just biased for the sake of bias, and it's great fun to say, but they're shite. My mate, he was round last Saturday. Staunch. Big Rangers, man. I think the day it was 6-0, whatever, right? All he was kept saying was how bad they were throughout it. How bad are we? That's throughout a win like that. Don't let the optics of the result fool you. The amount of passages of play that you've seen them just going fucking nowhere, useless with, wasteful. And I generally think an early goal for Celtic, and we should get a comfortable win. Not that means that's the message to the team. That's just a fan's opinion. I think obviously you go into it with the right attitude and application, and Brendan will expect that anyway.
Yeah, the strange thing is with a lot of these games recently, we've went into them where sort of, we've got it in us to wipe the floor with them. But you found recently you can't take it lightly because we've had too many games recently at Celtic Park where we've just narrowly won it. In the one last season, 2-1, we get 2 goals in quick succession, and then 30 seconds later they go up the park and score that woeful goal with Dessers, and then the one earlier in the season when Bernardo and Kyogo scored again, 2-0, we're cruising, and it could have been whatever we wanted it to be that day. And Tavernier gets a free kick and scores for just going into stoppage time. And of course, there was about 8 minutes stoppage time added. And it was a really uncomfortable last 10 minutes where, we played really well up to that point. They deserved nothing, but it just shows you you just take your eye off the ball for a second to get a goal back. You can have a real momentum shift in the game. And yeah, they were a bit uncomfortable. The cup final as well was obviously by the narrowest of margins with the late goal from Idah. So it's not something we take lightly. We've definitely got it in us to win big, no doubt about it. When you look at everything you just said there, Russell, about the differences right now in the mood in both camps, you definitely thought, Celtic could put them at the sword here, and they might. Just one of these freak things could just turn up and just absolutely roll over them. But at the same time, would not be surprised if it's one of those. We had to work for that one there, and it could very well be that. But let's talk about let's bring this up, Liam. It's a subject we always need to bring up. We're talking about our pressing and whatnot in the way we're playing right now. There's somebody that's very, very crucial to that, and it's not somebody wearing a Celtic shirt. How crucial is Mr. Beaton going to be in the middle of the park and disrupting our play?
Yeah, Mr. Beaton, and then we got Mr. Dallas in the VAR as well.
Yep.
Don't know if Beaton will have the balls to do it on the park, the same way it would be if it was at Ibrox. If it was, the crowd will be, wanting every kick and all that. I don't know. I mean, he's under a lot of scrutiny this week. The guy in the VAR, isn't he? I'm more worried about him than I'm the referee on the park. If there's anything, I'm just worried about getting our assets protected as well. Because you see what happened to Matt O'Reilly when he came on at Brighton with, absolutely horrendous tackle and things like that. And stuff like that can change a game. Beaten, and especially under the Willie Collum now, advised referees, part of the SFA, where he loves a good agricultural tackle, where somehow Willie Collum is more manlier than the rest of us because he doesn't see, hammer throwing tackles as fouls. He sees that as a man's game, which baffles me. And then as well, if we do get up, we've seen it before as well. We've seen when we get momentum, and then all of a sudden the game's grinding to a halt. There's an awful lot of niggly fouls, pushes, just wee shoves in the middle of the park that basically you could wrestle a guy to the ground in the box and they'll get a foul for. But the slightest wee indiscretion in the middle of the park seems to be able to get a whistle, and that's up every single time. So, I hope the crowd gets on his back right for the beginning as well. This is our home game. We do have advantage. And if he does start any of that sort of stuff, let's get on him. Let's just boo him or cheat him out of the game. Like just shout him, shout him out for that. And that's the same with Dallas and VAR. I'm hoping none of that stuff comes into it. But we all know the dark arts. It's there. It happen. But I think our momentum is entirely up to us, and it's just hammer them.
Yeah. And it is always one of my concern in these fixtures is what role the referee will play, the way every little 50-50 niggly foul seems to go against us and whatnot. Any chance to stop the game, they usually take it. So that always does concern me, and I hate to be going down that route, but again, the track record's there. Some of the stuff that's happened, obviously Tynecastle earlier this year, it was Beaten that caused a whole shit show, him and Don Robertson, between the two of them, with some of the decisions they made that day. So again, there's something we're going to have to contend with, but again, as the old adage is, if you're good enough, then the referee doesn't matter. And last season, people can point to the referee appointments, but we came through 5 games against them last season, Russell, and we didn't lose any. We drew 1 game, which we probably should have went on and won, but in the end, that point was valuable. But we did win the games in the end, despite we went through the whole collection. We had Don Robertson for 1 game, Beaton for another one, Nick Walsh for another. I think Clancy got 1, and then Column. I think that was the 5 referees last season. So we went through the whole spectrum of them, but again, we came through it unfazed. But yeah, if Celtic do turn up, and it is one of those lazy things to say, Russell, if they turn up, of course, if they turn up, they do the business, they get it won. But yeah, if you get any wee concerns there at the back of your head about the dark arts and the referee disrupting it, is it something that you think about going into this game, this fixture, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think when you remember Postecoglou, I'm sure said something about refereeing records pretty early on in his tenure. You would know all about that, or something like that. He'd said to one of the journalists, there was something like that. It was what's his name? That presenter on a Sunday on BBC Sports Sound.
Oh, Kenny McIntyre.
Kenny McIntyre. Remember there was the wee jibe at him, if you recall, and that was to do with referees. Lenny was obviously very much an emotional manager and would regularly critique and sort of highlight and flag. One of the things over Rodgers' 2 spells is, he's very, very good that way. Last year he called out what had to be called out eventually, when it was just utter nonsense. And of course, everyone wanted to focus on the fact he named John Beaton, ironically, who's the referee. That wasn't the point. He was actually complimenting John Beaton, although we know what the end game was that Rodgers was trying to achieve. But there was a compliment in there, but he was calling out as well what was unacceptable officialdom. Now, I just feel that with Rodgers, he doesn't go down these roads with the players beforehand. It's all separate issue. If something really, really has to be said, then he will. I think on the balance of play, he is not the type of guy that looks at that. And I think sometimes that's the key. And a good trait for some managers, and just not how other managers operate that are still successful. Rodgers very much, I think, takes emotion out of these games. It does it. And I think an emotional thing is when you go down officials and you go down refereeing decisions, etc. I think he tries to remove that as much as possible. And the only way that comes to the fore is if there's something undeniably so glaring that it has to be commented on, sort of thing. I don't think he's bag in general at all, and I don't expect to be talking about referees come fucking Sunday afternoon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely not what we want to do at all. One thing that did come up, somebody mentioned earlier on, and they're right to be concerned. I started the comment. Henrik McLaughlin had asked, is CCV definitely injured? No, he's not. It was confirmed in the press conference that he had some sort of reason to not be at training. Now, some people were panicking that he's not training, not that he was injured. What if there's a transfer going on at the last minute? Apparently, for whatever reason, he wasn't at training today, but it wasn't an injury, and obviously he's not left the club. So
CCV, a recovery day. Roger said it was a recovery
day. That's it. And so I would fully expect him to be fully recovered then come Sunday, and he will be in the starting lineup because he's obviously very, very vital. And but I still think it'll probably be Scales that'll play. I think just keep the consistency going just now. But providing that we're in a nice, comfortable position, then we can afford to bring them on. And of course, I need to get back the breaking news ticker. I've seen it in the chat. I just saw Luke Shanley was reporting from Celtic Park. But apparently the McCown deal is agreed, and obviously Engels hasn't been officially announced yet. But I keep refreshing the Twitter feed on my computer screen as well, just waiting for it. But the last update from Celtic is Austin Trusty's announcement. So they're going to really rip the arse. It's like the Champions League draw. They're just going to rip the arse right out of this and just make it go right up to 1 minute before 11 and then post the two of them together probably. But it looks like McCown is done. I'd heard earlier on part of the McCown deal, they were maybe talk about Thiago Holm going to Dundee on loan for the season, which would make sense to me, to be honest. But that doesn't seem to be part of the deal anyway. It looks like it's just going to be a straight cash deal. That's the way it is. So Thiago Holm will probably drop down the pecking order, I would guess. Or again, he needs to fight for his position. But it looks like it's happening, Liam. Engels, we knew that was happening. But McCown is on the way. But it doesn't seem like anything else is coming in terms of wingers. Was there any other position that you thought Now when you look at it in the cold light of day, Liam, that we're winding down to the end of the window and you know what's there and all the stuff that's been punted out, is there still something you look at and go, I could have done with another body there, just one more?
I think it's striker. It's the striker role. If one of them goes down, they're just back down to one. We don't have anybody that can come in and fill that role for the youth squad. Unless you're thinking of putting guys in Maeda through the middle, that's probably the backup. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'd still like to.
But I mean, the thing is, you do that, and then you're looking at Yangs and Palmer's literally waiting in the wings to come in, waiting for a good choice of words there. But you know what I mean.
Here's a question: what about McCowan's? Is he coming in to back up McGregor? Because if that is, I would like to have seen us push this out. It's like, all right, is another. Maybe you just take an experienced player in for the season or something like that. Somebody with a wee bit older, somebody with Champions League experience as well, just in case anything happens to McGregor, because we don't really, now we have Wata gone, we don't really have anybody that comes in and fulfills that role in an experience level. Do you push it out and you get somebody like I don't know if he played Shaqiri, somebody like that, somebody that's got maybe, just like a couple of games left in him that would get us over the line if anything should happen to Callum McGregor.
I love that shout. I think as well it captures imaginations. I talk about it all the time. I think it's so important that as a football club we don't get acclimatised with everything being business. Celtic, I suppose Celtic, the team, not Celtic PLC. And I think a lot of fans would turn their nose up at Shaqiri because they go, 33 never happening, or 34, whatever age is, would never happen. Aye. It's like, well, too much money, too many wages, all etc. And you're going, imagine he signed. How much fun that would be. How much you'd be like, holy fuck, we just signed Shaqiri. Yeah. And again, he's the type of maverick that could come on, change a game in 20 minutes.
Look at that goal he scored in the Euros. Albeit Tony Ralston did play him up nicely, but what a finish it was. He didn't need to take that first time. He could easily controlled that and ran in and scored it away. But he put some swaz on it, mate. What a finish that was.
Well, he scored some cracking goals there at the time, and some of the teams he's played with, I think he was with Bayern Munich at one time.
He was.
They were good. Liverpool as well.
Liverpool. He's had a weird career trajectory, so end up at Celtic,
Scored against us playing for Inter Milan in Ronnie's first season. They drew 3 each with us at Celtic Park. Shaqiri scored the first one, and I think it was Palacio scored the other ones, but Shaqiri scored that night.
It's funny, this transfer window, I feel we've all got away. I used to look forward to what you were saying before, like the Mavericks that would come in. When you'd get that one odd signing, or maybe somebody you'd heard, but it was like a Roy Keane or a Robbie Keane or back then, even here.
These moments are meant to happen being a football fan, aren't they?
What?
These moments are meant to happen when you're a football fan. Hey.
Like, I would have loved to have seen us bring in a player like, one of my favourites all time. I would have loved to have seen us bring in Marcello for a season. Like, he was out there, he was affordable, he went to Olympiacos.
That's right.
I think he was he went back to Brazil. Now I think he's playing with Messi's team in the MLS.
Yeah, he joined into Miami, that's right.
And, that's a player that would capture my mind. I'd love to see somebody like that playing in hoops. And you know that these players are out there. When you see them go for nominal fees and all that, and I don't know, and it's just pure vanity as a fan to want and expect something like that. But that's what keeps you going, as
exactly, mate.
No projects, but I'd like to see a guy 30 as well,
No, totally, mate. Totally. I think it's such an underestimated part of the conversation that you go, when was the last time you felt really stimulated at a Celtic? I know Engels is obviously definitely doing that, but we're doing it based on a fee, not the name. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. When was the last time it was a name? You're like, holy fuck, can you believe that he's joining? Even if he has passed these people, these are all meant to be part of the journey you go on, supporting a football club, not them erased completely. And then it just becoming this really binary sort of, right, well, as long as it's sufficient, for Celtic's balance sheets, then I'll be happy with that. Fuck that. Sometimes you've got to have a wee bit of ambition. And by the way, there's 100 million reasons why they can afford the odd one that might go Pete Tong. It might not, but it grabs the imagination. It grabs the attention of a fan base striving for more chapters to the fairy tale that's Celtic. Do you know what I mean?
Aye. Oh, there was a few that came up during this window. I think me and David Logue were talking about it one night while we were having a wee game of FIFA, just going over like the latest news. And I see that Danny Ings was made available at West Ham, Premier League striker. Brendan Rodgers signed him at Liverpool, and we just looked at it and went, that just pure reeks of like a move to Celtic on deadline day because of the Brendan Rodgers connection. But again, an established Premier League scorer, 32 years old, he's done it. He's played at a top level for a long time, scored a lot of goals. It's like, well, we need another striker option. Remember when Rangers signed Jermaine Defoe? And and even though, he was like, 35, 36 or whatever, but he still scored a decent amount of goals. Premier League, he's got a great record down there. And it's like, regardless of, okay, they're definitely over the peak down there, but they can still come up here and do a job. And if somebody like Danny Ings, we just saw that and we just thought, that just pure reeks of a move to Celtic and we West Ham are letting them go. But yeah, it's obviously not counting anything, and I do agree with your point about the striker. Liam, that's probably the one, because Maeda showed, yes, he did obviously get a brace against Hibs, but I always feel more comfortable with Maeda out wide. I think he causes the most damage to teams out there, because through the middle at times his touch can be a bit horrendous and whatnot, and when you're needing the ball held up there, it's not ideal. But yeah, it's probably the position I would have looked at if there was a third option out there. But it looks like we're going into it with Idah, Kyogo, and Maeda if needs be. I know there's a young boy, Tully, that's been appearing on the bench recently and got a bit of game time in pre-season. Maybe he'll get bled into the squad, because the youth players do need to start getting a bit more of a chance, because the pathway for them it's a shambles, let's be honest. It really is, with them all leaving. You saw the whole Daniel Kelly stuff this summer, the way that's been handled and whatnot. That's another one away. So maybe Tully will end up, having one of these moments. We've got Falkirk coming up in the League Cup. Could be a game like that. He gets maybe a bit more game time. Maybe comes off the bench with half an hour to go rather than 5 minutes to go. And something like that. Maybe that could be the making of the boy, but we'll just need to wait and see regarding that one. But yeah, back to the game then on Sunday, Russell, and so far no goals conceded in the league, only one goal conceded in the cup, which, to be fair, was a hell of a diving header for the boy. We can't really fault him on that one. Yeah, it was.
Three shots on goal this season so far. Brendan was reminding the media today.
Yeah.
We've conceded 3 shots. It's been a hell of a start.
And do you think we'll keep that clean sheet record, or that good record up then with Jigdale? Is anybody in there forward line that Dessers, we give him a lot of slack.
Pace.
Aye, well,
Matondo likes that wee cut in. He scored a wee whipped one, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, that was Yang who kind of stood off him.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So, yeah, because
What I'll say on it is, when you listen to Rodgers, you always feel like you're learning a wee bit about the football, and he's going, it's not about the 3 shots on goal. What's that telling you? And it's telling you how aggressive we're being off that ball. Yeah. He said the percentage of possession you should be more focused on is the 30% you don't have the ball. He goes, so see, domestically, we're on average 70%. He goes, it's the 30%. If you focus on that 30, that's the most important part of possession, because that will test how aggressive you are, how desperate you are to get that ball back. And that will, if you are showing that application, that attitude, then that will undeniably reduce opportunities at goal. It was interesting listening to him say that and how proud he was clearly of that record so far this season. And definitely it's something that we're going to hope it can be fulfilled. But again, I think it comes down to the team mantra. If the team mantra is, when we lose possession, go get it back fucking quickly. Play with that intensity that was missing so many times last season that we seem to have brought into our game this year. Keep that going, and it'll be a nightmare for them. Because when we get the ball, we'll be definitive with it. We will out-influence outcomes. But when we've not got it, show that same desire, that same heart, that same, belief to get the ball back as quick as you can, and it reduces opportunities for the opposition just like that as well. And Celtic can become extremely difficult when you've got both those things going in your favour. Deadly on the ball, making clear-cut chances at pace, and off the ball, hungry, aggressive, and hunting impacts to get it back as fast as possible. That's a perfect storm.
You could hear in Brendan's words when he was talking that day, because I saw the same clip for the press conference. You can hear the sort of pride in him saying that, like he's delighted because he feels like, yeah, let's be honest, a year ago when he came in, and there's always going to be a transitional period after what Ange did, and as good as Brendan is, there is going to be an adaptation period, and it did take a while for us to get motored in last season. But a lot of people said, when you get a full pre-season, and we're starting to see it now, and yeah, you can tell that he a bit of pride, satisfaction in his work right now and what he's doing. He can see it starting to tick over nicely now. The players are buying into what he wants to do. The vision that he has is clearly coming to fruition right now. And yeah, the very fact that, other than a great diving header from a Hibs player last in the cup, it's like, we haven't had many meaningful shots even at us right now. Kasper Schmeichel could easily just put a chair out at the side of the goal and just sit and read the newspaper if he fancied it for most of these games.
The irony being, if there were more shots, you feel more comfortable this season than you did last anyway, because it's Kasper in goal.
And his distribution as well, it's quite incredible where it's passing out from the back. Jeez, man, and he even said that when he did his press conference. Remember, they asked him about, how do you feel about it? Because it's a thing for some goalkeepers where they don't enjoy it, but he was like, no, I love that. Like, that's part of my game. And he wasn't lying. His distribution's absolutely fantastic. Very quick. I mean, I loved Joe Hart. Joe Hart was fantastic. Yes, his distribution was a bit rocky at times, but of course, one of the things that he does do, because he was always a bit unsure about it, was he would slow things down, instead of getting the ball distributed quickly from the back. But Kasper Schmeichel, they pass it back to him right away, and he's taking first-time passes, not even stopping it and try to pick somebody out. He'll just ping it first time and whatnot, and it's like, oh man, he's fantastic at that. So that's helping us, I think, massively from building out from the back line, because everybody wants to play out from the back these days. But I think it's having an effect as well on the guys in front. They feel more comfortable now with him doing that, distributing from the back. And again, we just need to be so on it from minute one on Sunday, and if we do, we should blow them away.
I mean, I think it's built a confidence amongst the back line as well. It's not just comfort. The confidence that you have, that knowing that your goalkeeper is comfortable back there and can get you out of it. That if you put a ball back, he knows he's grown up around professional footballers his entire life. He's been playing, and it's top tier. Growing up, he's only been around professional football players, so that his standards in hitting the ball and kicking the ball. He's been kicking them around with the very best since he was a wee boy. So I think that's going to help us dominate them at the back as well, by having them running and doing so. We're tiring out their back four, but I think we'll be tiring out the forwards as well with the amount of transitions that we're going to get to move faster. We've no longer just have to do the horseshoe. We've now got that option of going straight up the middle, because we know Kasper can get it right to the feet.
Totally.
And if that can be a quick transition, then all of a sudden Kyogo becomes lethal at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Same with wingers. I love the directness that we have, and I think that all comes from the back out. We're now a team that is more willing to run direct at players with the ball, with speed. And I think we were missing that before. There's too many pass backs, too many boys just immediately getting passed back to somehow you're going to fool them that it's going forward. Just these one touches back to the defender. I'm glad we're moving away from that and trying to move it up the park. And I think Schmeichel's a big player for that. And going back to what I was saying earlier about signing, box office 32-year-olds and that, you can put Schmeichel and Hart into that category, and they've both been successes. Because I think it does something else as well about establishing that confidence. You create aura about the team as well too, where you're sitting across with somebody that's recognisable, somebody that's a star, somebody that you've seen growing up when you've been watching the Champions League or the World Cups or the Euros or that. I think that is a lot of it factor in the dressing room as well when you're looking to motivate a team. Like what we had with Kolo Toure and people like that. I think I'd like to see if I'm wishing I hope to bring in another older player like that, just to give us a little bit more of that maturity in the dressing room, but also as well on the park as well if it's needed.
Yeah, definitely is. It's going to be a exciting one now. We're going to wrap up pretty soon, because I don't think we're going to have a surprise wildcard signing in the next 11 minutes. It looks like it's going to be McCown and Engels, which That's your lot. That's absolutely fine with me. I'm pretty happy with it overall. I've had to laugh at this comment with Stephen Kessie, the longest voice of us ever. Stephen, mate, you must be new. See us three on the screen right now. See if you go back and watch old Bustalgia episodes. 2.5 hours was the very minimum you were getting on Bustalgia.
Oh,
that's the minimum. Yeah,
we definitely
man.
did a couple over 3, definitely, man.
We definitely did. We definitely did do that. And yeah, in fact, Pam's came in and backed it up right away. So Stephen came, you seen some of the Bustalgia episodes. Yes, indeed. But yeah, we'll wrap it up now. We'll just do our sort of final predictions then for the game. And yes, I don't expect there's going to be any 11th hour signing here out of nowhere. So we can safely say that it's going to be Engels and McCown. We're not going to miss anything by going off 10 minutes earlier than expected. But
my shoulder is killing me, mate. I mean, painkillers.
You need the physios room. You need the physios room. So Russell, what you first then? What's your score prediction then for Sunday? How do you think it's going to go, mate?
I'll go for 3-0. I think it will be a measured 3-0. I think it will be a rock and roll start. And I think Brendan, the one thing with him is he won't just keep going at it. You know, I know you can be called relentless when you want to look at it in a good light, but I think he likes to contain results and he likes to ensure that they go ahead. And I think it will be 3-0. Bordering on what could have been, you know, might be coming on after going, we could add more. One of those ones. But that's just the style of the manager. He'll make sure that the 3 points are banked first and foremost. And I think that'll be about a 3-goal difference. Score early in particular will lead to that prediction being pretty accurate, I think.
Aye, no, that sounds good to me. Hopefully that is the case. And Liam, what about you? You've been saying 4 a lot recently with your predictions. Is it going to be 4 this time? What do you think, Liam?
I am going to go back for the 4. I think definitely. I think Boyce's talk rubbish 3-0. That's fucking out of order. What are you talking about?
Rubbish.
No, I think I think push them.
Mate.
I'm always overconfident in these games. I'm up at 4 a.m. I want to see 4 goals. Is that?
There you go. That's a good link. 4 a.m. What
about you, Phil?
I'm going to be a little more safe. I think we've got it in us to do them like 3-0, 4-0, but I feel like it's going to be one of these sticky ones again. But I'll say 2-0. They're sort of controlled 2-0, nothing too flashy about it. Just in there, get the job done. And yeah, it might even be at the end saying, God, it should have been more. But hey, the 3 points first and foremost is the most crucial thing. And as long as they get that, another clean sheet would be nice. I don't want to have a awkward last 10 minutes because they get a scrappy goal and we're under the cosh like we've had in recent games against them. I want to see us just, deal with them. No real fuss. I'll say 2-0 to Celtic. And that'll do me nicely. And if any of the new guys can get in the game time, fantastic. That would be great to see before this bloody international break already. Oh, Christ, man. But yes, anyway, folks, that's us done 1 hour and 52 minutes. We've done quite a shift tonight. Hope you've enjoyed it. Over 200 of you've been watching consistently live. I cannot tell you how overwhelmed I genuinely am by that and how much I appreciate it, because coming on to do this tonight, I mean, the Friday Field's been doing good numbers recently, but I thought we're going to be up against some heavyweights in the podcast world tonight. I think every Celtic pod's doing a show from 9 to 11. The fact that over 200 plus of you have been watching us consistently for nearly 2 hours, honestly, I thank you so much. Like, genuinely, it means a lot. And hit the like while you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then do that as well and keep us on your life that wee bit longer. And we'll head off of, imagine Celtic's Twitter. We'll be announcing Engels and McCown very soon. And thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the game on Sunday, wherever you watch it, whether you're at the stadium or you watch it in Canada like Liam does, wherever you are in the world watching it, enjoy it. And hopefully we'll be coming back talking about a fantastic Celtic victory. You'll catch PMP as well on Sunday. That'll be a lively one with Russell, Terry, and I think Pam will be joining you. Should be stepping into referee. Russell, do you think on Sunday? Engels announced, there you go. Liam. No. Right, guys. We shall catch it again. Thanks, everybody, for watching. It means a lot. And, all the best. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy the game on Sunday. See you, folks.